Well, good morning, Chairman Black and Seletsky and committee members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify at today's hearing on the Clean Energy Jobs Act. I appreciate the fact that the authors and others put a lot of work into writing this bill, as did the authors of the Global Warming Task Force report. In fact, the bill is so closely related to the task force report that it's hard to understand why the bill isn't being marketed as the global warming bill. Or maybe it isn't that hard to understand, because usually when a bill is misnamed, it's because the bill's supporters want to make it sound like something it really isn't, so they can gain even more support. And what better sounding topics to gain support over than clean energy and jobs? Unfortunately, there never was a clean energy jobs task force. The bill is based on the recommendations of Governor Doyle's Global Warming Task Force. The main directive the governor gave to the task force was to come up with strategies to make Wisconsin a leader in the implementation of global warming solutions. If that's the basis of the bill, then why isn't it being called the global warming bill? So why misname it? Perhaps one reason is that there hasn't been much global warming to fight lately. Global temperatures have not gone up in over a decade and seem to be trending downward in the last few years. All the weather headlines in Wisconsin and much of the northern hemisphere have been about cold and snow lately. There may be another reason to misname the bill. At last week's Senate hearing, Senator Miller asked me what would happen if the climate scientists who are predicting much warmer conditions 40 or 50 years from now are right. Won't it be too late to do anything about it? Well, aren't some of these the same climate scientists who have been caught manipulating data, making large errors, interfering with the peer review process, and deleting colder weather stations from the data to make things look warmer? Isn't this questionable behavior a contributor to the so-called consensus the governor told the task force to take into account when writing their report? Investigations are still going on, and new revelations of shoddy, incomplete, or just plain dishonest science among man-made global warming proponents have been coming out on an almost daily basis. As far as the predictions of catastrophic overheating in the next 40 or 50 years, these are the same scientists whose computer models just 10 years ago predicted it would be much warmer right now than it really is. And I don't blame the computer models. It's tough to model climate. But if it's tough to model it at 10 years, how is it at 40 or 50 years? If the Nobel Prize Committee wants to give their award away to people who incorrectly said Hurricane Katrina was caused by global warming, or who file error-filled reports like the International Panel on Climate Change, that's fine. I'm not willing to idly sit by and watch Wisconsin's economic future put in jeopardy based on the multi-decade predictions of scientists who cannot tell us what the climate will be like just 10 years from now. The fact is, the mandates of this bill will cause energy prices to skyrocket in Wisconsin. If solar and wind were more economical, the utilities would be voluntarily turning to them. A spokesman for the Wisconsin Industrial Energy Group was quoted recently as saying the current renewable mandate was already putting upward pressure on electric rates in Wisconsin. And that's fine. I think we can handle that. But a spokesman for We Energies estimates that the $413 million cost of the Glacier Hills wind farm would be included in rates beginning in 2012. And where will the $250 million needed to convert the power plant on the UW campus to biomass come from? I believe it's going to come from ratepayers. Of course, the Global Warming Task Force didn't have to worry about that, since the directive from the governor was to not bother doing a cost-benefit analysis. As far as this being a Jobs Act, how will implementing California emission standards produce jobs in Wisconsin? How will prohibiting truck drivers from idling their engines for more than 5 minutes create jobs? How will prohibiting the sale of television sets that draw more than 3 watts of power on standby create jobs? And how will creating a climate change coordinating council produce anything other than taxpayer-supported DNR jobs? And finally, what if the Beacon Hill Institute is correct, or even partly correct, and implementation of the mandates in this bill causes Wisconsin to lose thousands of jobs? Any legislator who's willing to vote for this bill better be ready to explain that to their unemployed constituents. Regardless of the number of jobs lost, the fact is that the state is going to mandate dramatically higher energy prices. Manufacturers will either have to dramatically raise their prices or absorb the cost by cutting jobs. Any green jobs created by the mandates of this bill will be more than offset by the thousands of lost jobs in the private sector. If the legislature is interested in creating jobs and keeping energy affordable, we should repeal the nuclear moratorium immediately, make our state's tax structure more business-friendly, and develop a sensible energy policy that will carry us into the future.
Thank you.
I use my
Representative.
last 3 seconds over to say I urge committee members to vote against this bill. Thank you very
Okay.
much.